It's another BumbleKast Mini, sponsored by X.
Let's start with this question. A very popular fan game within the Sonic community is a project by the name of Sonic Smackdown, a fighting game similar to the style of the Marvel vs. Capcom games, which got me wondering, what would you like to see out of an official Sonic fighting game? Something more advanced like Tekken, more flashy like Marvel vs. Capcom, a platform fighter like Smash? What would you imagine the roster and story being like?
Personally, I would prefer something Marvel vs. Capcom-esque or something Smash Brothers-esque.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, very personally, deeply personally, on a first name basis personally, I want to see a Smash clone just because that I prefer that type of fighting game. I really don't like your traditional hardcore esports arcade fighting games because I'm bad at them. I don't want to have to do research and training to play my game. I just want to play my game. But in the Smash Brothers route, I would also feel more inclined to make that a second All-Stars title.
Yeah.
As much fun as a Sonic Smash would be, it certainly has the roster for it. I want to see more. Part of the fun of these Smash games is seeing all the different things come together. So in that regard, maybe a Marvel vs. Capcom style, because I feel like the flash, the razzle-dazzle, the speed of it is fitting to Sonic. Whereas something where Tekken is a little too technical, a little too slow, I say as someone who is not super well versed in this style of fighting. Like Sonic the Fighters is fun, but I feel like it's still kind of weird.
It's got a little too much Virtua Fighter in it.
Yeah.
Still kind of a bit too much. And Virtua Fighter is very technical. So, yeah, I don't think that fits.
For story and roster, doesn't need a story, really. Fighting game stories are not really the best ever.
Well, I mean,
can we just have a fighting game?
Some good endings, you got to have those.
Sure, a fun, reward, but let's not worry about where it fits in the continuity or what it means if Tails meets Sonic. Just let it be a fun little scene. Have, a little bit of smack talk between rounds or something, but let's not worry about story in a fighting game. Let's just let it be a fighting game.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you could revisit Sonic Battle, but, refine it a bit and, modernize it and speed it up.
Maybe. If they're going to do that, then I'd say just make it its own continuity.
Yeah, sure.
Something that doesn't have to be beholden to anything else so that you're not going, oh, why are these two characters fighting? Because they got along great in these games. Just, whatever. Just make it, hey, this is Sonic the Fighters and 2, and this is the storyline, and who cares about anything outside of it? Or go the Smash Brothers route and say, it's all these characters brought together across the multiverse. There's your story.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, sure.
And roster, everybody. Like, the more the merrier.
Exactly. Yes. Like, just nobody's left out. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. Just bring them all in. There's a fancy event going on, and Tangle is being dragged along to it. Is she more likely to wear a suit, dress, or just her usual garb? How long does she manage to stay before boredom overcomes her?
Wouldn't necessarily have to drag her, because she would think it's fun. She likes to get dressed up, and it's all pretty, and look at all the razzle-dazzle and the expensive food and, all the pomp and circumstance. That's fun. That's not her usual thing, so it's a different experience. And, oh, look at that, and oh, look at him, and oh, look at that, and oh, look at her. And, eventually, the boredom would start to weigh in, and that tail of hers is increasingly winding up the chair leg and kind of wagging impatiently, but she'd sit through it. As for formal attire itself, I feel like she'd be comfortable with just about anything. It's not what she typically dresses as, and as long as it looks good on her, she'd think it's neat. She'd think it's fun.
Alrighty. Uh-oh, a massive wormhole appears in the IDW verse and out pops Mecha Sonic, but not just any Mecha Sonic, the one from the universe of Super Mario Bros. Z. How do the characters react, and how do they combat this threat?
From what I remember, that Mecha Sonic was kind of OP.
Well, I mean, this is a Dragon Ball Z-esque Super Mario Brothers thing. So, yeah, of course it's going to be OP. Everybody is.
But he's coming into the modern setting, which, as OP as it is within its own setting, it is not DBZ levels.
No.
So there would be a valiant attempt to stand against him, but Mecha Sonic would stomp everybody. It would be swift and brutal.
Yeah, probably. And there's a lot of people who would argue against that, I know. There's a lot of people, every time this topic comes up, who they really get into an argument in the comments, or they really come at you specifically, Ian. Like, why do you underestimate your character so much? The Sonic character so much? It's like, well...
Because Sonic moves at Mach 1. DBZ characters move instantaneously.
They teleport.
There is no comparison.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. It's been noted that Tangle has been trained in combat. As with any skill, it's important to continue to practice so as not to lose touch. With that being said, who would Tangle go for a sparring buddy? Whisper, Sonic, Knuckles?
Sonic or Knuckles? Maybe Sonic and Knuckles. Whisper is too CQC. She's the type that gets in there and ends the fight with a couple of precise moves, and that's not Tangle's style.
That's not a fun.
No. Tangle's about fun. And Sonic and Knuckles, they can be more fun when it comes to throwing punches and leaping through the air and bouncing off the scenery and such.
Yeah.
They would enjoy the scuffle. Whisper ends the fight before it begins.
If Team Hooligan were to ever meet with Wario and Waluigi, how would they interact? How long until one team would try to con the other?
Oh, immediately.
I mean, they were doing it before they even met. They were trying to con each other.
Like, if we're going to assume that they meet on amicable terms, you know, Fang is trying to con these two bumpkins from the Mushroom Kingdom into helping them out. And Wario and Waluigi see the con from a mile away and run along with it because the minute they get the chance, they're going to turn it on the Hooligans. Bark doesn't trust them from the get-go, but Fang won't listen to him, so he just doesn't say anything. And Bean is Bean, you know, non sequitur one-liner. Eventually, whatever heist or antics they're up to reach a fever pitch, and then the vile but inevitable betrayal happens, and they're at each other's throats.
Yeah, pretty much. But they let Wario have all the money, because money doesn't exist in Sonic's world, so...
Yeah.
Something I've been curious about with mandates and such. Are heel or face turns a thing you can do in the comics? I doubt the mainline cast could, but seeing with the direction Kit is maybe going in, is it possible for IDW Originals to switch alignments?
I don't know. That is a good question. Like in the Archie days...
You haven't tried yet.
Yeah, like in the Archie days, the OCs were pretty much free to do whatever with. They were approved in-house. They really didn't get any oversight. IDW OCs, however, are scrutinized by Sega. They have input on them and how they're used and such, so they might actually have a say on whether or not the characters can do that. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see if that ever plays out.
With the new Weird Al biopic trailer dropping, it's made me think about how he's in, like, a lot of cartoons. It makes me think, if he were given a voice actor role within a piece of Sonic media, who would he most fit voicing?
Quick aside, him being Darkseid in Teen Titans Go is never not going to be funny.
I didn't even know that was... All right.
They offer Darkseid a lozenge, and he's Weird Al for the rest of the show.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's very funny.
It's very good.
In that same vein, I'm going to say then Black Doom.
I would love to hear him take a serious crack at Eggman.
Oh. Yeah.
It would be a different kind of manic menace.
Yeah.
But I think he could actually manage to be funny and a little unsettling.
Yeah.
It would be a very, very different Eggman to be sure, but I think it would be interesting.
Classic or modern, though?
Classic, I could see him being just generally funnier.
Yeah.
But there can be an intensity when he's really going for the weird that if he leans into it, I could see it being kind of fun in modern.
Yeah. Yeah, I could. Yeah. Yeah. I would like that. I think it would work. Sonic and company decide to take a vacation within the Soul Dimension. What do? Does Tangle drag Sonic around to take her to all the places he's been during his adventures here? Does Tails share notes with the kingdom's top scientists? Does Amy finally take a minute to rest on a southern island?
Tangle ain't going to wait for anybody. The minute they pop out in that dimension, she's gone. She's going to see all the things. Blaze's castle? Oh, she's going to climb to the top of it. You better believe it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God. She and Marine.
Oh, no.
They'll set sail and we'll never see him again.
Yeah.
There you go. Tails, sure, he would be talking with folks, but, he's also there to hang out with Blaze and, see her again. Likewise for Amy. I think she'd want to get a proper tour of the island at a more reasonable pace, enjoy the sights, get a sample of the culture. Sonic would be around enough to hang out to say that he hung out, and then he'd be more or less along the same lines as Marine and Tangle. Maybe he has to take a jet ski to go catch up with them, or he goes off on his own and they meet up again for some other adventure, but it's a whole new world to explore. He ain't going to sit around and just let it be.
Right. What about anybody else? You think, what would Knuckles do? Would Knuckles, I mean, if Knuckles could go there, go with them?
I probably want to see how they do the Soul Emerald and Jeweled Scepter. What are your security measures? How do you do this? Providing notes along the way.
That's a good point, yeah. I like that.
And once, he's got his answers, like, all right, well, I've heard there's special metals around here. Time to go treasure hunting. And he's off on his own thing.
Yep. And when does Eggman show up? Because inevitably...
No, he was there the whole time. Who do you think opened the portal?
Good point.
Now that they're all in one place, he can enact his master plan of whatever it is.
Good. With the influx of new interpretations of Sonic being seen lately, the movies, soon Prime, and even other writers for the Sonic comics, do you think this changes the way you yourself write Sonic? Do you see it as a welcome challenge, trying to make your own interpretation clean, while also adhering to the core principles of Sonic's character? This question could also apply to other characters as well.
First off, let's specify that I've never tried to approach Sonic as my run on Sonic. I mean, yeah, that's an easy distinction to make, and I've had a long run, but I've never looked at it as this is my voice, this is my vision for things. I'm part of the collaboration. I'm trying to tell Sonic stories. I'm not trying to tell my Sonic stories, if you get me. I'm part of the process. I am not the star of the show here. It's Sonic. I'm not going to matter once I'm off this franchise, let's be honest. It's Sonic that draws people in. It's Sonic that people want to see. So what I want to do is do good Sonic stuff in collaboration with the artists and the editors and other talents. It's just I happen to have been around for a long time and been kind of active online. So my voice is a bit distinct, but we're going to get more voices in there, and that'll be fun to compare. To that end, I think the other interpretations will certainly be worth looking into, see what works, see what's fun, see what I can possibly emulate, incorporate. But it's all going to be within Sega standards, presumably, so it shouldn't be that different.
Yeah, you get the more lesser known characters developed and everything. I mean, you say you won't really matter, but I mean, you've already left your mark. The Hooligans are basically your characterization is pretty much canonized, so.
Yeah, but that's them.
For more
that's
or
the
less.
Hooligans that endure.
I know.
I'll be the footnote, if you care to even look.
I suppose. Give yourself a bit more.
I am ephemeral. Sonic is forever.
Give yourself a little more credit.
Eh.
Have there been any mandates within the comics that you see as more of a blessing in disguise?
The no romance rule at least saves me from the shipping arguments.
Does it though?
I mean,
They
I
still
can
happen.
at least they still happen, but at least it's not thrown at me. I don't have a dog in this fight. My hands are clean. I'm not supporting anything. I'm not launching or sinking any ships. You go talk about yourselves.
Well, I mean, depending on who you ask, you still either hate Sally or Amy or Amy at the same time. I don't know how.
Yeah. I know.
I don't know how you can hate both of them at the same time so much.
I'm flexible.
Be huge fanboys of them and also hate them constantly. Depends on who you ask, like I said.
And we've said this on the show a few times, or I guess on the regular shows. This is a mini. Haha.
Yep.
The restrictions when we were doing Shadowfall, where we couldn't use Black Doom and we couldn't use Mephiles, forced me to do some mental gymnastics and come up with Eclipse, which in the end was way better than what the original idea was.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I'm going to agree with that. What is your advice for people who want to post fan content online? Any advice on taking advantage of the larger leniency on interpretations that come without the official sticker on it? How to manage that freedom without losing the franchise's identity as a whole?
Fan content is ultimate freedom. Like, you can go as wild as you want. It's your creation. You're using a baseline as the inspiration, but if you're creating what you like, then you do you. The only thing I would advise is be prepared for the feedback. Once you open yourself up to the public forum, there will be scrutiny. There will be interactions, both positive and negative. So, the internet can be a harsh place. Be prepared to have your stuff not well received, shall we say kindly, and manage your expectations. If you're just creating for the sake of creation, then you're fine. You're in the open. Doesn't matter what anyone else says. You're not even looking for critique or following. You're just creating and sharing. If you want a following, if you want people to jump on board with this particular idea, be prepared. You are going to get folks who dig it, folks who dig it a little too much, and those who think that you are an affront to everything that they stand for, and they will hate you for it. And it's everything in between. So that, I say, be prepared for. And be prepared to just go offline for a little while, because you need to distance yourself, believe me. But for the content itself, what are you trying to create with it? And then create it.
Yeah, I'd say don't think about it too hard. If you're ever granted to have a TMNT crossover with the Sonic comics, which interpretation of the Turtles would you most like to use?
I have been stewing on that for a while, and I honestly don't know.
It's hard. There's so many possibilities with all of them.
Like, each one would bring something interesting to the table, but it also kind of comes down to what Nickelodeon would want us to use.
Right.
Like, pairing them with the 2012 or the Rise versions or the 80s versions would all be fun, but in their own way.
They'd all be very different, yeah.
Yeah. The current IDW crew, I think, would be potentially harder to rationalize. And I only bring that up because the Turtles Ghostbusters crossover is in continuity with the IDW book in the most wonderfly elegant way.
Yeah.
Like, that is how you do a crossover. I was in awe of that. That was one of those rare times where I was able to read a comic, enjoy it, and dissect it as I was going through it, and just looking at the beautiful structure of it, going, this is well put together, and not get hung up on the craft. So that would be the bar for me to reach. And I don't know if Turtles is in a place that would work for that. Maybe just do like an original pass, like with Batman and the Turtles, where it's kind of like the iconic tropes of the Turtles in their own crossover specific incarnation. I don't know. There's a lot of ways to tackle it.
Yeah. That's geez. The 2012 versions of the Turtles are personally my favorite incarnations of them, despite all the problems the show has, and it does have a lot. But I think I could see them working. There's the tone similarity is there, but I think it really just depends.
And heck, maybe make it a movie Sonic Rise of crossover so that you can get the joke about Leo and Sonic sounding really similar.
I still want that DuckTales Sonic crossover. How fluffy is Tangles' tail? Would she use it as a pillow? Would her friends try to use it as a pillow? How would that end up going?
It's fluffy-ish, but it's fairly dense. So it would be, kind of a good support pillow. The kind that you can really like rest your neck on. And it can go for miles, so everybody can get in on that.
How would that end up going? Very long. On the topic of Tangles' tail, her stretchy tail reigns familiar to the stretchy limbs of the werehog. Is there any connection between the Dark Gaia energy that turned Sonic into a werehog, or is it just a trait of hers?
It's just a trait, but it is a bit sad that she came so late into the game, so she can't be stretchy pals with the werehog.
Yeah, well, maybe someday Sega will get a real wild hair and bring back the werehog. I doubt it, but you never know. And finally, how would you say an adventure between Sonic, Tails, Tangle, and Whisper goes? How would their characters bounce off of each other as they all went on some globe-trotting journey? By the way, I totally picked these characters randomly off the top of my head and was in no way influenced by the fact that I may or may not be creating a fan series starring these four in particular and wanted to get advice from someone who's written for said characters in an official capacity. Nope, completely random.
Oh, sure. I understand.
Yep.
It would be fun. I mean, they all get along, so there wouldn't be a ton of interpersonal friction. You have Sonic and Tangle who kind of encourage each other to go a little wild with the exploration, and Tails and Whisper trying to rein them in to focus on whatever mission it is they're doing.
Yeah.
Tails, I imagine, would be the main driving force for whatever's plot related, and Whisper would mostly be hanging back for the occasional bit of side commentary or solo badassery.
That's good.
It'd be a great opportunity for Sonic and Tangle to play off of each other in various environmental hazards and general chicanery. And then, of course, you would have to have some moment where everyone comes together and just works like a well-oiled machine to defeat whatever threat there is.
Of course. And that's it. That's all we got.
Thank you to X for sponsoring this BumbleKast Mini. Head over to patreon.com/BumbleKast and Ko-fi.com/BumbleKast to see how you can get a BumbleKast Mini of your own.
We'll see you next time.